Hey everybody, this is Skull with Old School Sound. We are partnered with our guest today.
Hey, how's it going?
So all right, and this is Pixelgrinder. If you haven't yet heard his latest EP, I highly recommend that. That's going to be self-titled Pixelgrinder EP. My favorite song is the Silver Obelisk. Uh,
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
so before we get into it, can you tell us a little fun fact?
Let's see, fun fact, I would say throughout this whole interview, I'm not listening on headphones, I'm not listening on speaker. It's going wireless straight into my brain. So that's how I'm hearing all of y'all.
Awesome. And how would you say that impacts your approach to music creativity?
Um, I think there's a couple different aspects to it. I most of my life I've had hearing aids instead of a cochlear implant. The cochlear implant is a relatively new thing for me. Um, but it's I accept that the way I hear music and the way I like to make music are a little bit different. But I think
Really?
when I'm listening to music, I've noticed this listening to other people describe a song they like. Um, is I'm definitely more driven to rhythm and bass, maybe more so than melody as like a central aspect of the song. Um, I think it's also why I enjoy and prefer to make a lot of instrumental stuff, is because when I'm hearing vocals in a song, I'm not necessarily focusing on the interpreting the words of what they're saying, but really just the sound of their voice.
Hmm.
And so I think that's definitely informed the kind of music I like to make.
So you said rhythm and bass. Is there a particular genre of music that you find much more enjoyable to listen to than others? Like, for example, EDM, house music, techno,
For sure.
cinematic, ambience. Is there a particular one that stands out the most to you?
I do think in general, when I'm listening to a song, um, it can, I'm speaking very generally here, but I do think my mind is often waiting for the beat to kick in.
Hmm.
And I would say, well, certainly for a long time, the music that I was really into was hip hop, and that's kind of what I grew up with because my dad would play it
Hmm.
every day when I was driving to school, he would put on a Tribe Called Quest, and that was like the soundtrack to like growing up for me. And so for a really long time, I wanted to make hip hop beats. I just really kind of enjoy that. Maybe because it's not a hip hop beat doesn't always have to be centered around a melody. Um, and so that kind of appealed to me. I would say ever since getting a cochlear implant, though, which has hugely improved just literally the audio quality of how I hear the world,
Hmm.
um, I think I've been drawn to heavier stuff, more distorted stuff. And I think that's definitely shaped my approach to music as well.
So, in regards to distortion, I know you have a pretty good guitar pedal collection and use some good effects. What would you say has been one of your favorite gear to use in regards to after the implants and then you liked distortion and stuff? What was something that you tried out and experimented with? You're like, yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
Um, I would say, well, certainly, I freely admit I fit the stereotype of the kind of person who, during pandemic, quarantine, lockdown, I was like, maybe I should learn an instrument. I've never really stuck with an instrument until then,
Hmm.
until having cochlear implants. And I was like, I've always wanted to pick up guitar and got into it. But I sort of did it out of order. I got into guitar pedals before I started getting into guitar.
Really?
And yeah, because I think it was some interview or maybe it was like a forum post. Someone said like, oh, if you want to sound like Nine Inch Nails, run a synthesizer through a guitar pedal. And I
Hmm.
was like, wait, that sounds awesome. I gotta try that. And so um, that sort of started what is a still growing collection of pedals. I mean, just off the top of my head, let me give a shout out to this guy, the Megalith. It's a super nasty fuzz, super aggressive, but it actually sounds quite nice on a synthesizer too, not just guitar. Um, Usually, what I'll do is if I have a synth part that I want to give a unique kind of guitar like sound, I'll usually run it from my laptop through a reamp box into the guitar pedal and then back. And you can get some really unique, sometimes horribly distorted, sometimes quite musical, crunchy tones. You can
Hmm.
get some really unusual stuff that way.
Is there a particular song on your latest EP that you were just messing around? You weren't intentionally trying to produce a sound, and then you just clicked with it and said, "I have to put this into one of my tracks."
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, I would say the last song on the EP, Razor Girl,
Hmm.
originally started out sounding really different. Um, I wouldn't say that song has a whole lot of guitar pedals on it in particular, although that is a lot of like the sound I like to make. It started off as more of a, if I mean, if you look at the MIDI file for it, it looks more like a piano piece. Like I was trying to I can't really play piano, but I was trying to compose and approach chords in a way that was more like left hand or right hand playing.
Hmm.
And um, I wasn't a huge fan of how it sounded for a long time until I decided to just change the synthesizer sound into something that was like really gritty and uh, ugly. Is almost the tone I was kind of hoping to find.
Hmm.
Um, and then that took the song into a new direction. And yeah, I think to answer your question, I think that would be um, a song where what I was envisioning when I started and where I ended up were two totally different places.
Awesome. So we know that listening and approach to music change with the implants. What was something that you found yourself really good with before, and then like afterwards, a new door was open and you like changed course?
Um, Yeah, actually, you know what? The first thing that comes to mind, just a quick example. Um, I definitely remember trying to get into Death Grips, the hip hop group, the industrial hip hop group. I
Hmm.
listened to a couple songs in like maybe like 2016 or so, and I was like, I get what they're going, for with this, but it's not my thing. And then after having my implants activated, I listened to it again. I was like, wait, I fucking love this. This is the shit. Um, and it, part of it might just be that like I had to grow on me a little bit,
Hmm.
but I do also think that the way I can hear with the implants is like um, more distorted stuff like metal songs in general sound less like a wall of sound and more like I can hear the individual nuances in it.
Really?
Yeah. Um, I mean, just to really simplify what the experience is like, I was born hard of hearing. I've had hearing aids up until about 2019. The one of the unique quirks of my hearing loss is that it can randomly kind of degrade, even worse than it already was, which led to me being like considering cochlear implants. And um, unlike with a hearing aid, where when you get a new hearing aid, it takes maybe like about a week to adjust to like the new sounds and like higher sound quality and everything might sound a little different or louder. With the cochlear implant, you kind of quite literally have to relearn how to hear.
Really?
Um, yeah, because for starters, um, you get the there's two parts to it. There's the internal implant, which is under my skin,
Hmm.
and then this is the external thing, which is attached with a magnet. It just stays in place. It's pretty comfortable. I don't really notice it when during my day to day life. Um, but after the surgery, you can't hear anything out of that ear for about a month. It needs about a month to recover, and then you get activated, which is when you first have some of the electrodes on the implant switched on. It's super sci-fi, super weird. I just distinctly remember. when they first turned it on, everything sounded like super harsh. Not really like any like sound. It's just like maybe noise. And you slowly your mind starts to understand and interpret it a little better. Um, I wouldn't say I even tried to listen to music for a couple weeks after being implanted. Um, it was a really weird sensation. I don't know how else to describe it. Like everything just sounds. I think the first day I had them turned on, um, I recall saying like everything sounds like alien flute music. Like any, it, I mean, I wish I could replicate how it sounds because that doesn't even come close to describing it. It's like um, maybe a little bit digital, sort of harsh overtones, um, and then you start to hear certain things like a voice, like something that sort of sounds a little maybe vocoded a little bit
Hmm.
um, out of the noise. It starts to emerge, and um, it's all happening a little bit subconsciously. Your mind is starting to like understand what the hell is going on, and it's a little overwhelming at first for sure. Um, I got my left ear implanted, my left ear, and then my right ear a few years later. So there was two separate experiences. Um, and then like as for music, I think the one of the first things I would do is listen to songs that I really liked, that I was familiar with, that I knew I could kind of picture the sound of it in my head as like um, a control
Hmm.
um, that I could reference mentally to sort of see how it sounded different to me. And I definitely am able to hear bass a lot better than I used to be able to, and occasionally understand lyrics a little better. I'm not great at it, but that's definitely shaped my listening experience like in a huge way.
What's some songs, or just at least a song, when you really were able to tune into the bass, where it's like it's your go-to, that's your
Oh,
jam?
oh, I would say "Excursions" by a Tribe Called Quest. It's got just the most. It kicks off that album. The first thing you hear is this like sweet bass line. This like it's just like so instantly grabs your attention. I think that's like a to me that's like great bass sound. Justice as well. The EDM group, like French house kind of bass. I
Hmm.
really like that super thick, distorted, like very in your face kind of sound. I think that's I would say in terms of like my own sound design, um, that's like a great high water mark to reach for like if you want a great bass sound.
So, if you could collaborate with anybody, alive or dead, who would it be?
Shit. Um. Okay, the first person who came to mind was Trent Reznor. Although I would say '90s Trent Reznor, if I had to like pick a time window.
Hmm.
Um. Maybe second choice might be Mike Moraski, the guy who did the Portal and Half Life soundtracks. I really like his sound, and that was definitely a big inspiration when I was like, um, post implantation, getting back into making music. Um, that
Because of the
was,
sound of science?
yeah, 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 yeah. There we go. But yeah, like I think those would be two really solid choices. I'd love to collaborate that way.
Bet. What about, have you ever performed live yet?
I have not. That is actually a New Year's resolution of mine.
Really?
I yeah. Just go to an open mic night, fail horribly, whatever it counts. It counts. That's my bar. I'm putting together a bit of a live rig, and actually, the song that I'm submitting to the ODR compilation, which is coming
Hmm.
out real soon, next month, April 5th, baby. That song I've been working on translating to a live setting.
Hmm.
Maybe a couple other songs on my EP, and just kind of seeing like it might, you know, some things might not translate well to a live setting, and I'm okay with that. It might just be that I have like the beat of that song, and then I jam something a little different on top of it when I'm performing in real time. Um, but that's my goal.
You gonna pull off a Frank Zappa, and every time you do a solo, it's something different?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
What is a venue that you would love to play at?
yeah.
Like
Uh,
flying to or local
uh, that's a good question.
or even
Um,
a music festival?
Gosh, I think it's not even necessarily specifically a venue, but like some kind of like grimy fucking basement with the clubs from like the Matrix or something like that,
Mhm.
where it doesn't even like have a name. It's just like some address that's like, on the street, looks totally unassuming. Then you get down some stairs, and like, yeah, I think that kind of like weird underground tunnel is like my vibe.
So something like from the movie Blade?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Let me see. So you said Razor Girl you're trying to put into a live performance style, right?
Razor Girl's a good candidate. I would think I think the first song I would like really restructure for a live performance is probably actually Zero Day Exploit, and just like I might do the kind of thing where you have like uh some cool like sci-fi samples that aren't
Mhm.
even necessarily in the song, but it's just like little vocal snippets that you could just like trigger here and there over the beat, that kind of thing.
Have you ever considered I don't know what they call it, but during live performances in the background, they'll have videos playing in addition
Oh
to what they're
yeah,
doing. Have you ever thought about doing
yeah.
something like that?
No, definitely. I mean, honestly, um, my day job, such as it is computer animation and
Mhm.
doing a lot of video editing. I love like weird VJ sets and like shit like that, where they're just like creating this kind of visual sonic experience, and
Mhm.
that is something that I actually really enjoy. Just in general, is like kind of creating um, like album art and like just like images to go with the songs. Um, and working on some music videos as well. I definitely think there's a visual aesthetic component to the whole Pixelgrinder vibe that I want to explore.
So, if I recall correctly, there's been a few times within the ODR community that you've revealed some of your 3D animations. I think one of them was like a room with all your gear and a
Oh
person to
yeah,
chair
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, how can people find stuff like that from you?
Oh yeah. Okay. I usually try to keep the Pixel Grinder side of things. Like it has its own name, Pixel Grinder. That's like the music, the sound.
Hmm.
Um, my 3D art I usually do under my other screen name, which is Bash Muttons, and I'm on Instagram. I'm on ArtStation. You can check out my stuff there. Um, but I guess eventually, there's gonna be one of these times where like a music video, like these two worlds collide for sure. And so I'm real excited to share that with you guys soon.
Like Powerman 5000?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that's a
So,
great song.
let's see. That covers a little bit of what you like to do outside of music, but that is your job. So is there something outside of 3D art and VJ sets that you also like to do for fun? Or is that really your honed in passion overall?
Uh, I mean, I do love to ride motorcycles, and that's actually one thing that I haven't really explored yet. That would very much enjoy is doing some music that is influenced by the sound of just like, I mean, honestly, some people in motorcycle community they're such nerds about the sound of like the engine note and how their exhaust sounds and that kind of like um, I mean, it's hard to replicate hearing like a bike revving in person, like the thump of it, like hits you in the
Hmm.
chest with how loud and powerful it is, and to kind of recreate that in a musical context would be really cool. But yeah, that's my other like passions going on around.
Is there a dream bike that you have?
I mean, I have a Ducati Scrambler. I think that's my bike for life. I can't. I mean, trying to think. If money was no object, um, I mean maybe like Kawasaki H2 because those things just like amaze and like scare the shit out of me at the same time. They're just like so much bike, and so they're pretty sweet. But yeah, I love my Ducati Scrambler. I think that's my answer.
So if you're wanting a scary bike, we could go the route of the HR Geiger slash Ripley Scott alien bike, the
Oh man,
Xenomorph. You seen that?
yeah, I have seen that. It's amazing.
Eh.
I that kind of like body horror, like man and machine kind of vibe.
Mhm.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah,
Do you think we could ever expect a single or an EP or something like that since you're into the ambience where you draw inspiration from that sci fi horror and you can bring it to life? Because, I mean, Silver Obelisk, kind of close to that, kind of got like that Metroid Prime vibes, kind of like the boss fight, but I mean, it's right there. It's right
yeah.
there.
It's definitely. I'm working right now. I'm working on like a full length album,
Hmm.
and there's definitely some songs that are like a little more. I mean, I want to like describe them almost like as like soundtrack to a video game that doesn't exist, and they've got this. I love the atmosphere and the mystery of it. That like
Hmm.
those kind of like ambient songs can really emphasized. Um, so yeah, for sure, that's definitely one of the directions I want to take my sound.
Hmm. I'm thinking. The brain is cooking. I got it. All right. So, I know you like Dragon Ball. So, you at least have
Yeah,
to like a little bit of anime.
yeah,
Have you ever considered sampling sound effects from shows or movies that you really like and then
yeah,
implementing them into your music? Because with Tribe
absolutely.
Called Quest and hip hop, I know they do a lot of sampling. So, what's in the pipeline
Absolutely.
with you?
Okay. Um, I'm actually there's a song that's like maybe 65% done that
Hmm.
like I built around samples from the Blade Runner movie,
Hmm.
the Blade Runner 2049, and that's definitely one of them. I mean, you mentioned like anime and stuff. There's something really nostalgic to me about the sound design. A lot of those shows where like the audio is mono, it's a little
Hmm.
crunchy. It's got this kind of like indescribable vibe. It's really cool. Actually, my girlfriend and I just watched Neon Genesis Evangelion for the first time. I'd
Hmm.
never seen it and blew my mind, and the sound design in that is amazing. It really adds to the vibe. So I would love to like just grab some little like machine snippets and like things like that and like make some industrial beats out of it for sure.
That could be very exciting to see. What do you think an album or EP title for that would be coming from you?
Shit. Uh a
The
title?
spotlight is on you.
Yeah. Title. Actually, this is not a direct answer, but it's funny. I should mention like my approach to titles is kind of unconventional where I basically have this Google Doc and I write down like pages and pages of like phrases that just kind of stick in my mind or like, oh, that sounds like a cool title. And I'll just write it down. And when I'm
Bet.
writing music, I don't really think of a title. Certainly not until I'm maybe like 2/3 of the way into it, like completing a song. And then I have a general sense of the vibe. I'll look at that document and see, hey, any of these phrases kind of fit like the song. And so um, that's usually my approach. It's
Hmm.
kind of my way around like not being like great at titling things otherwise, but like I think it's kind of a fun little like creative exercise to like come up with them. Um, So that's probably how I would come up with the title for that kind of thing. But I think it might be a fitting title might be something like um, in like Japanese katakana, where it's like Japanglish sort of sounding
Yeah.
is how I would describe it. Um, but yeah, maybe something like that.
I just thought of something else. So, with your Nintendo 64 sitting over there, how has returning to vintage and retro gaming um, been for you? And is there any sound chips that you would like to rip and then use
Oh
for
man,
music?
yeah, actually, um, perfect example on my EP. There's a song called "Void Scan"
Mm-hmm.
that actually let me give me a second.
Will do.
I just want to give a shout out because there's a guy in Spain. He goes by the name Spherical Sound Society, and he
Ah.
makes these amazing little chip tune like machines that like they run on Arduino, and he usually puts like firmware that's like directly based on or inspired by a lot of old like Yamaha synthesizer chips.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing is basically that song Void Scan is like the whole sound of it minus the drums is made with this little guy.
Really?
And yeah, you plug this thing in and it just spits out whatever it sort of randomly like wants to generate. And you can tweak it with the knobs and sync it via MIDI. But it really is like so weirdly inspirational because like it'll just make whatever sound and loop it, and it's kind of rhythmic. Um, maybe like 25% of the time, the sounds this thing makes are like terrible and like hideous to listen to, and then like the rest of the time, it'll make something you're like, holy shit, that's dope. I gotta loop this, and um, I found just those little kind of like noise toys type synthesizers are like really great for sampling and inspiration like that, and they're so influenced by the chip tune sound, and I feel like that's kind of like a little like genre in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it like kind of combined with like like lo-fi video game indie sound. Um, People like really like the nostalgia of that, and I'm definitely influenced by that too.
Same. There's actually Zelda Lo-Fi. I'll have to look up the name of artist. It escapes me, but I like that a lot. And then you could pretty much just throw a coin in a wishing well and have like 200 Mario Lo-Fi
Oh
songs pop
yeah,
up.
absolutely. I mean, the fact is like when the melody is good and recognizable, it's got a groove. You can kind of like you know redo like any kind of song with like a slightly different sound or recreate it with like an old synth. I mean, I love those. They're a little bit cursed, but I actually really like those. There's some YouTube channels that do stuff like they'll take like a heavy metal album and they'll like recreate it with like the Donkey Kong sound font or something like
Oh,
that.
I've seen those.
They're
Yeah.
they're so yeah, exactly. And it's like it's so weird, but like it works because like if the music just and the music like you boil it down to the music theory of the song, and then you just change all the instruments. It still kind of works. It maybe like has a weird flavor to it, but like I really enjoy those kind of experiments.
Yeah, you are right. It is cursed because once I clicked on that and watched a few more, just YouTube
I know,
recommended my
right?
whole homepage is like half
Yeah,
of that stuff.
yeah. But yeah, like I enjoy, like it's like the Tool album, but it sounds like Donkey Kong. It's like it shouldn't work, but it kind of does. Like just fascinating, like kind of like music grown in a lab kind of way.
So, what is some music that you really, really like, but it will never touch or influence the stuff that you create? So it's like it's in its own pocket.
Oh, that's a great question. Um, hmm. I mean, I could think of a few. Um, like I love Wu Tang Clan. I
Hmm.
cannot rap for shit. I've tried. It's not happening. Like, I love like the RZA production and just like the grimy sound of that. But I don't think it really has any bearing or connection to the stuff I make.
What would be a show or movie that you would love to make an intro song to?
Oh, that's a great question. Hmm. Um, I'll get. I'll slightly answer that question.
Hmm.
Um, on the my favorite show of all time, Twin Peaks, for sure.
Hmm.
The most recent season, which might be the final season, but the at the end of every episode, they have this little concert series, you could call it. Like in the universe of the show, they have this little row house bar where they have different bands perform, and I would love to do a performance at the Roadhouse.
Bet. That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you had some Blade Runner influence. Matrix. We also discussed Blade. Kind of like that underground warehouse party.
Yeah.
Well, like for example, in Triple X, Rammstein actually played a
Oh,
live concert in.
uh, could you repeat the second half of that? The audio cut out, but it wasn't you.
So, um, Triple X the movie,
Oh yeah.
Rammstein actually played a live concert in there.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
in a
You're right.
similar light to what you want to do with Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
What was a band that you discovered through that kind of method?
Oh, let's see here. Um. Uh. I can think of a couple. Definitely Chromatics, who did a
Hmm.
song for the Twin Peaks. The little concert series. That's definitely one of them. Uh. Oh, and Run the Jewels, which some for some reason I had like missed out on them, like when their first album came out. But then they had a song on Silicon Valley, and I was like, holy shit, what is this? I need to hear more. And it was on the Jewels.
What would you say, for you personally, has the best curated soundtrack from a TV show or movie, and not in the sense of original score, but licensed music? So compiled, it
Hmm.
really elevated the experience.
Um. Hmm.
I'll lead with mine. There are some original and then some curated, but I think Queen of the Damned from the Interview with the
That's a
Vampire
great
series,
one.
I
Yeah.
think that one has a really amazing soundtrack, and that's probably where a lot of people learned about Deftones.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I would go with Lost Highway, which is the is actually curated by Trent Reznor. I would
Hmm,
honestly say it's better than the movie itself. I like parts of
nice.
that. I like parts of that movie, but the soundtrack is just like top notch. So good.
Is there anything that we have yet to discuss that is just burning you wanted to talk about?
Hmm. Um. I mean, I think it covers a pretty good range of
Oh, yeah.
topics. I just want to, give a little shout out to my albums coming out. Hopefully later this summer. It's going to be called The Void Chamber, and it's going to be a full length album, maybe like 12 or 14 or so tracks in the works. And yeah, no, I'm having a great time like collaborating with my ODR buddies, and excited for the future.
Where can people find that album when it drops, or how can people support you in your path with
Oh,
music?
um, it's gonna be on Spotify. It's gonna be on Bandcamp. It's gonna be on YouTube, the usual like streaming. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
We'll include the links in the description. And
awesome.
then, um, just in case people are interested in your Bash Muttons art and they want
Yeah,
to get to know you more as a artist, with music and that side of things, where can
yeah.
people find your renders and stuff?
Oh, Instagram's usually where I post most of my stuff.
All right, awesome. Well, this has again been Skull from Old Skull Sound and Pixel Grinder. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for joining us.
yeah. Thank you. Have a good one,
Mm,
man.
You too.